Redline Logbook here with Chapter 7 of Wistoria. We start off where we left off, but through Thrawn's perspective, where he's still just gnawing away at his own head because of his broken pride and spirit of being saved by Will. Since the day he got saved, he obviously was training to get stronger. We saw this earlier when he was killing those ice golems, but he feels like he's gotten nowhere near where he needs to be. And since Will is so focused on defeating Julius, at this point, Thrawn is on the verge of snapping. The area in which Will's team actually ended up going through is the desert area, where there are a bunch of golems, like before, but these don't attack physically. They fire giant boulders at you, and Will's able to block all of them by using his Earth Gauntlet to smash the ground, causing it to pick itself up like a wall and block the attacks. And then after that, Clannad creates an Earth Sword, so Will can then destroy the golems. Thrawn is just glaring at Will, biding his time, clearly waiting for something, because he's not using any of his magic. All the students are like, there's no way Will is doing this. This is all because of Clannad's magic. Obviously, Will isn't special, but there are two people who notice the difference. Well, technically three, but we're not going to count Will's friend. We're going to count the two people who would probably look down on Will. Professor Edward, and also the scout for the fire fact. The scout is able to tell that Will is automatically able to detect trap and then dispose of them. And of course, Professor Edward explains how Will can do this, and it's because of him constantly going into the dungeon, facing dangers, and then becoming able to just react to danger as an instinct, basically a muscle memory. Also, Iris is playing her role. I can't tell if she really is rooting for him or she's just screwing around. Either way, it's entertaining. We get to see other teams facing their traps in their own regions. The grasslands have giant plants, the swamps are just difficult to walk through, the volcanic areas obviously explode lava at you. Julius is also in the grass area. It doesn't seem to affect him much because he froze all the plant monsters like they were nothing. One of his friends actually has a search ability, a wide-ranging one at that, and he's able to tell the entire battlefield and the fact that Will's team is actually in the lead. And Julius says, okay, that's fine, I'll just go alone and deal with him. Will's team makes it to the Enchanted Forest, so I assumed the forest region was part of the circling around with all the other zones, but in reality, what happens is there's the crown in the middle, the forest circles that, and then all the other zones circle the forest, which means all the students are going to end up in the forest area and fight each other. That's the point. Will's team activates a trap, which is, of course, Professor Edward's darkness magic, so he's also a part of this. They all fire at once like they did against Will last time, but Will once again uses his terrain to his advantage, rips up the ground with his sword, and uses it as a block to counter all of the darkness spells. Meanwhile, Thrawn is still fuming. As for the announcer, he then asks Professor Edward what does he think of his spell being blocked so easily, and his only response is to click his tongue. Yeah, Professor Edward does not like Will. So Will has no interest in winning the crown game. In fact, it's probably going to be won by some third party we're not thinking of, most likely Yagich, the elf, because Will, instead of going straight for the crown, decides to take a detour to where Julius would be coming from, and he plans on creating an ambush. As soon as he makes that turn to go in the direction of Julius, he's shot through. Now, I would say he was shot through, but because he made that turn, the ice round, instead of going through his body, only went through his cape. Both Clannad and Will are confused because there's no way his team should have been able to get there before them, but his team didn't. Once again, we know that Julius went off on his own. Julius starts firing off a barrage of ice at them, and Will is about to engage when he feels a sudden sense of fear. And behind him, Thrawn is creating a massive spell, and he is actively targeting not just Julius, but Will as well. And when I say it's a massive spell, I mean it literally causes an earthquake in the jungle, obliterating every tree in sight. Will is straight up confused and shooken up by this because he barely dodged that. Thrawn then just walks up to Will and demands that he fight him, one-on-one. Will tries to reason with him, tell him that there's no time for this, they should be fighting Julius, but Thrawn then just starts blasting magic at him, not actually aiming directly at Will, but around him to force him to fight. An ice wall then appears, separating Clannad from the other two, and of course, realizing the situation, Julius decides, okay, I'll just let Thrawn kill Will, and he goes after Clannad instead. Will continuously tries to reason with Thrawn, but Thrawn still does not care. He just blasts more magic around Will and actually tosses him a sword and says, pick it up. Thrawn will not take no as an answer. He does not give two shits what Will wants or what Clannad wants or even Julius wants. All he cares about is getting back his pride. So Will finally accepts this, picks up the sword, and the duel between them is about to begin. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, give it a thumbs up so you enjoy more Wistoria and other many things. Thank you and have a great day.